Okay, all right. How's everybody doing out there? This is Duane Fletcher with Fletcher Community Media. Um, got some really good books here. Some of you may know me by some of the action novels I write. You see me around town promoting the books, talking at city council meetings, also online, on my YouTube channel at Real Duane, Real Duane. Just look up Real Duane, Real Dwayne of FCM, Fletcher Community Media. That's the YouTube channel. On Twitter or X at Issues by FCM. Check it out. Okay. Nibble Next talks about some twins from Russia that were basically doing hits for the KGB and stuff like that. Came to Jacksonville. Okay. All right. Also talks about let's see, here we go right here. The Battle of Fléchet. The Battle of Fléchet. This one talks about Napoleon's campaign against Russia 200 years ago, in contrast to what's going on in Ukraine right now today. Okay, this is a pretty good book also. And also The Black Hand. This is the one that's causing all the controversy. I talked about this a bunch of times at the city council meeting. Matter of fact, I'm scheduled to go there tonight too and talk about it. But this is also a very good book, The Black Hand. Talks about sports figure that basically doubles as a hitman for the KGB. This is a really good book, really, really good book. Also, if you get a chance to check it out. And right now, the website blurb.com, BLURB blurb.com is unlocked for you to preview some of the new material. I have the books unlocked so that the new material can be previewed by publishers and things like that that I have queried, trying to get them to give me some type of book deal or maybe buy some material from me that they can film into a movie or a TV show or something like that. So, matter of fact, I got so much material now, I have enough for like a TV show. I mean, it's just the books are coming out one after the other after the other. Um, but I want to do a small podcast today. I'm not going to talk too long because I got some other things to do. Um, First off, I want to talk about what's going on here in Jacksonville. Some of y'all might know this, but recently in Jacksonville, there was a huge cyber terrorist attack at Jacksonville Beach. Okay, very large cyber attack by terrorists from Russia against Jacksonville Beach. The city of Jacksonville Beach, where they hacked into like the power grid and some other city functions and things like that. Some other city offices that had to do with City Hall and things like that down at the Jacksonville Beach. Okay. And the reason why I want to bring this up because it appears to me that there's been this other recent event in the news talking about a terrorist attack in Russia. Okay, so there was a terrorist attack in Russia, and they're saying that somebody in the Security Council or somebody in the CIA or whoever it was, somebody called Russia to warn them of a terrorist attack. Okay, so let's look this up. Let's look this up. Let's see. Let's look this up here. Terrorist attack in Russia.
According to Wikipedia, the Crocus City Hall attack was a terrorist attack on the 22nd of March 2024 at the
This is
Crocus City Hall music venue in Krasnogorsk,
this is
Russia, on the western edge of Moscow.
this is weird. Okay, this is weird. Now, there's some kind of terrorist attack or something that happened in Russia, and they're talking about it. Says 130 something people that were killed. I think there's some kind of record for some for active shooter situation and things like that. However, the thing is that somebody in the CIA called them to warn them about it, but they're attacking us. There's Russians attacking us here in the United States, and the Russians never called Jacksonville Beach City Council or Jacksonville Beach to warn them about it. And it appears to me, because this is Florida, and I know what it is, I'm not going to play dumb with you. Um, it appears that there are certain members of law enforcement, some of them ex-military, and also some other people in local politics here in Florida, and they basically bend over backwards. They bend over backwards and they put themselves and the general public in bad positions when things like this happen, because it appears to me that no one from Russia called America to warn America. No one from Russia called America to warn us about it. Let's look up the other story too. Jacksonville Beach cyber attack, Florida. So there's some kind of ransomware group, and they got all kind of experts working on it and stuff like that. Down to the beach, talking about why do these terrorists do anything like do stuff like that. No one called Florida to warn us about something like this, and it's been proven that the people who did the cyber terrorist attack in Florida recently, I think it was like a couple of weeks ago or whatever. I mean, no, I think it was like a month ago, actually. Um, but let's see. Basically, no one from Russia called America to warn us. However, we have people here in America that keep calling the Russians and stuff like that. And I want to map some of this out because hopefully y'all will start paying attention to it, and they'll stop doing it to each other and stuff. Like, you know, it looks like they're trying to get each other back for different things like that. Like General Miley called China one time, and that was so controversial. Oh my God, why did General Miley call China? And blah 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 blah. This was the time when Trump was having a riot. This was during the January 6th riot. Uh, During the January 6th riot, I believe it was. Uh, let's see, General Miley of the U.S. Army, he called China to assure them that we had everything under control and that there was no coup in America and things like that. Now, then after that, you had Governor DeSantis apparently, allegedly, possibly wanted to get the Democrats back or get the people that were supporting Biden back by calling Serbia. So all of a sudden, Governor DeSantis, who's not even a tennis fan that I know of at all. You look up any pictures of him on the internet, he's always playing golf. But Governor DeSantis, he wanted to call Serbia all of a sudden, and this may have been the motivation to get it back. Now we got somebody calling Russia, trying to warn Russia about some type of terrorist attack, saying that oh my God, there's going to be a terrorist attack in Russia. The Russians didn't take it seriously, or maybe they didn't give a damn, or maybe the whole thing was a setup. Because it's a lot of people saying on the internet, it's not just me. There's TVP in Poland, there's DW News in Germany. They're both talking about, and there's France 24, just some of the international news networks that I watch. Some of them have started talking about Russia doing false flag attacks against themselves for different reasons and stuff like that. And it could be possibly that this is some type of false flag in Russia for them to try to throw sympathy on themselves and try to get some type of investigative powers out of the CIA, where normally they will never give the Russians a time of day right now, you know. And but somebody in the CIA or somebody in whatever network, law enforcement network it was, or political network, they called Russia to warn them about a terrorist attack. However, at the same time, there was a huge terrorist attack here in Florida in Jacksonville Beach. Then we have Jacksonville, then we have Jacksonville Beach, and and which is like two separate cities, but Jacksonville Beach has their own government, and basically there was a cyber terror attack, a large cyber terror attack. No one called America to say, "Well, we're sorry that all your social security card and your bank information is on the internet now and on the dark web." I believe it's on the dark web. I believe that's what they were saying. But no one called to console America, saying that we're sorry that these Russian cyber terrorists put all your information on this on the dark web and things like that. And I I've been noticing all kind of computer problems while I was writing and stuff like that. I'm surprised that they haven't tried to frame me for something, because that's one thing that I noticed too. When some of these people that I'm talking about, when they get caught lying, there's nothing else to talk about. The first thing they do is they hack your Twitter account and try and say you said something that you never said, or they try and hack your Facebook and they try and say you said something that you never said, and all of this kind of stuff like that. So, but there was a large cyber terrorist attack here in Florida, a couple of weeks ago, and no one from Russia called us to warn us, and that's who did it. So, and the reason why the Russians didn't call America to warn America is because that these cyber attacks are state sponsored. This is not just my opinion. There's several senators in Washington that feel the same way, that looked at the same information and said, well, it's state sponsored. So, unless you're going to invade Russia, you can't apprehend this dude. They're not going to go pick him up. They're going to watch him. They're going to say, oh, he's not doing nothing. Yeah, 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 we looked at that guy. He's not doing nothing. Yeah, we looked at him. He's not doing nothing. Matter of fact, they got an oligarch here in Jacksonville that they do the same thing. You know, hey, there's an oligarch in Jacksonville dodging sanctions. Yeah, we looked at that guy. He's not doing nothing. Yeah, but there's this black guy that wrote all these books. Oh my God, there's this black guy that wrote all these books. We need to watch that guy. This is basically what goes on here. This is shenanigans and stuff like that, where they try and redirect law enforcement and stuff like that. And if you ask me, they got too much control over the law enforcement. People need to be issued different orders to watch out for this kind of stuff, that they don't end up in chasing their own tails while the Russians get away with cyber attacks and get away with violating sanctions and dodging sanctions and such and such and such and stuff like that. So, but they need to start paying attention. And the thing is, this is another thing too. Okay, if there is a group of armed men in Russia that could plot out something like this, while he's in an active theater, he's in an active military theater right next door in Ukraine. But yet still, there's a group of armed gunmen that were allowed to plot this out. It makes no sense, because you would assume that if he's in an active war theater right next door in Ukraine, he will be watching everybody, because he will be afraid that one of them's going to come across the border and probably blow his head off. Okay? The thing is that the common sense of it is that if there's a group of armed men in Russia that would plot something like, and they're not Russians. They're not Russians. Apparently they're Middle Eastern. Some of them are Middle Eastern, so they're not Russian. So either he's either he's lying, or this like the biggest lapse in security that in the history of security services. You know, why didn't they kill Putin? You know, if there's a group of guys doing that, they got one target. The common sense is they got one target. They will go after Putin, and because he's still alive, and they ended up hitting some movie theater or concert hall or whatever it was that they hit, it looks like a false flag. It looks fake. It looks fake that they basically orchestrated this event to for sympathy and things like that, and so that he can now try to milk this network in America that's been talking to him about stuff like that. What makes you wonder, and I'm gonna tell you something too, because if you don't pay attention to this, uh, it gets way out of hand. What you need to do is find who is this source that's still talking to Russia about right now, really, right now. We're like this close to end up having to put boots on the ground over there. So who is this source that's basically talking to Russia? That's what I'm wondering. And is Ukraine considered a terrorist? Have you been reciprocating in it? what classifies a terrorist to you? Is Ukraine name on the list? Is Germany's name on the list? Is France's name on the list? Now that they said they want to put boots on the ground, whose name is on this list of terrorists that you're talking to back and forth about? Because this could be some manufactured baloney that basically they're manufacturing suspects to be able to talk back and forth to Russia and stuff like that. And they need to stop holding their hand through this. You need Russians are a very large country, and you need to stop trying to hold their hand um through their own invasion. They invaded Ukraine. They started all this mess, and you need to stop trying to hold their hand for them, and so they want so that they'll feel safe. It's ridiculous. It's absurd, and but the thing is, like I was saying, if there was guys over there like that, they would have just killed Putin. They wouldn't have did no terrorist attack. That's absurd. That they would try to pass this off that there's a that if you're at war, if I'm at war, I'm going to be watching everything around me. I'm going to be watching every every person around me. I get into little scrapes and skirmishes about the stuff that I write. And the thing is that I get paranoid and I watch everyone. There's no way that a group of armed gunmen would have been just walking around like that. If I was a president of a country, I would be watching everybody, and I would have everybody. We have a saying here in the United States: if you see something, say something. Oh, you mean to tell me you're at war? Everyone should be on their P's and Q's, and no one saw that coming. No one said anything in Russia. It sounds fake. It sounds like a false flag for him to drum up some sympathy for himself and things like that. I don't, I don't believe it. It just sounds fake, and I'm wondering what other type of information have they been reciprocating back and forth and stuff like that. Um, but like I was saying, they none of them called Jacksonville to warn Jacksonville there's going to be a terrorist attack. Oh my God, here Jacksonville, there's going to be a terrorist. There's going to be a cyber terrorist attack. They're going to crash your computers and blah 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 blah. They never said nothing to us, and this all of this stuff had happened at the same time, virtually at the same time. All of this stuff happened. There was a huge cyber attack in America. Right after that, there was a huge cyber attack at Jacksonville Beach City Hall, and then there's a huge cyber attack at some city hall in Russia. It's crazy that people these people are uh believing this stuff. I don't believe it. I think it's fake. Okay. And that's just my opinion. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I talk about conspiracy theories. And it's not just me, like I was saying before. It appears that some of the foreign news services are starting to talk about other times about the FSB in Russia. They blew up an apartment complex or something like that, and then they got accused of it, so they shut down the investigation. And to date, it's never been investigated correctly. And that's who they blame: Putin and his contacts in the KGB and FSB and things like that. And but the first this they didn't have to dig this up. The first thing that came to mind for some of these foreign news networks that landlocked with Russia, like in Poland and Germany and places like that, they first thing that came to mind was that, well, this has happened before. This is something like this has happened before, and it possibly was the Russians um, swinging at themselves, trying to create sympathy and start bogus investigations so that they can investigate innocent people and stuff like that. Misdirection, and that's so. But let's talk about a few other things here. I think I talked about that for enough. But the United States just got kicked out of Niger, which is going to be a really hot topic. United States just got kicked out of Niger. Um, Apparently, because the first thing, and I'm not just saying this, if you look at any of the footage from Niger, um, If you look at any of the footage from Niger, there's everyone waving waving Russian flags. There's everyone over there, a lot of people over there waving Russian flags and stuff. And they're saying that Wagner Group was over there for a long time and possibly behind the scenes, uh, asking their government, bribing certain officials in their government to kick the Americans out. Because there's diamond mines over there, gold mines, copper mines, and it's not just America either. France and NATO both were just asked to leave Mali in Africa. Believe there's some situations developing in Burkina Faso also. There's other situations developing like that. But the thing is that this could go bad. This could go bad, and you need to start paying attention because um these bribes that they're doing right now at this point is possibly to try to drag the United States into a fight in Africa or try to drag the United States into a fight in the Middle East. Um, and the thing is, if you're not careful, you could end up in a World War III setting. You're supposed to be able to pick and choose your fights. That for them to for them to start bribing people and stuff like that, it looks like they're trying to pull the support from Ukraine, and then you end up having to send all your stuff to Israel to help Israel or to send all your stuff to Africa to fight in Niger or Mali and things like that. Now, um, I know France is upset because France they started talking about putting boots on the ground now in Ukraine to push the Russians out, which it's sad that they had to lose their footing in Africa first before they came to that realization. But and like I said this before, I feel as though the mistake that NATO made and the mistake that NATO is still making is that the Russians are on their heels 30 miles from the border. That it wouldn't probably take that much to make them retreat all the way back into Russia. And if you see him buying stuff back from North Korea and stuff like that, that lets you know um, he's been putting his money in his pocket and stuff like that. And you should you should all get together and put boots on the ground, just like the French president said, put boots on the ground and push him out. And this would discourage him from waging war any further. Like they were saying he's got a long list of countries that he wants to invade. Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Poland, Sweden, Finland, Germany, Turkey. They even talked about some of the Russians were even talking about trying to get Alaska back from the United States. And he ain't getting that. It's absurd. And the thing is that NATO is supposed to um, quell these type of pathological aspirations from other countries and stuff like that. It's basically what it is. It's a sociopathic, pathological aspiration of the Russians that they're basically uh, living off a dream of what Russia once was, and the only place that they can basically who will even listen to them is probably in Africa where they've been handing out bribes and stuff like that. Everybody else is really concerned for their own safety and things like that, and we should as Americans start to pay attention to this. But United States just got kicked out of Niger, and they're saying that they haven't got an official request yet, but it's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse because whether you know it or not, the Russians' goal is to drag you into a fight there. Okay. Um, you have to realize that. You have to realize that and start thinking defensively. Um, and we all know what it is. It has to do with the diamond mines and things like that. You should, fall back defensively, and he's got to sell like if the Russian diamond is now a conflict diamond, if the Russian diamond is now a conflict diamond, he's got to sell it somewhere, and more than likely the larger markets for that is in North America. North America and Europe. North America and Western Europe, that's where some when we some of the largest markets to sell diamonds and things like that. Um, so fall back to European law enforcement, American law enforcement, and just and because the thing is, like I said, his goal is to drag you into a fight in Africa and make all of the other African nations sympathetic and stuff like that. Um, And I see it sometimes here in the street where basically there's people here in Florida. There's people that sell marijuana for the Russians and things like that. And they even came out with they. It looks like they even came out with their own blunts, Russian cream blunts, and all of this kind of uh stuff like that. And so every once in a while I bump into one of their guys and they got so much to say or they want to try and start an argument and stuff like that. Um, but you have to pay attention to this so that we don't end up getting dragged into a situation where you end up launching nuclear weapons at oil fields and stuff like that. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard of. I don't know why NATO is allowing them to manipulate the settings of these skirmishes. Push him out of Ukraine. Get together, push him out, cut the head of the snake off. What's the problem? Well, he's he's bribing people in Niger. He's bribing people in Mali, and they don't want NATO there anymore. They don't want France there anymore. They don't want America there anymore. Okay, so cut the head of the snake off and push him out of Ukraine. That's what you have to do. Cut the head of the snake off, push him out of Ukraine completely. Um, and the French president is right, and that's where this is headed. The way what you should do, if he's causing that much trouble, you should cut the head of the snake off, push him out of Ukraine. That's what I believe should happen. Okay, so I want to talk about this also. This is talk about this Boeing. Boeing just moved here. I know some of y'all heard me talk about this before, but Boeing makes airplanes, and they just moved here to Florida, I believe to Jacksonville. I think they just built a new facility out in Cecil Field. Now, it appears to me that I don't know, some of y'all may seen this in the news. There's tires falling off the plane when they take off. There's windows popping out of the plane at 20,000 feet. There's the door to the plane pops off at 30,000 feet, and then there's problems with the air conditioner. There's problems with the electrical wiring and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the problems are mounting. And finally their CEO, Dave Calhoun, just stepped down. Okay. Boeing CEO steps down. Okay, so
Dennis A. Muhlenberg. According to Wikipedia, Dennis A. Muhlenberg, born 1964, is an American engineer, business executive.
I don't know where that came from. Did you see that? It had the story, but a different Boeing CEO steps down. Boeing CEO steps down.
Dennis A. Muhlenberg. According to
Look at
Wikipedia,
this.
Dennis A. Muhlenberg, born 1964, is an American
It
engineer,
says
business
Dave Calhoun,
executive,
but
and a
now it's
former.
still giving me a different name now. Dave Calhoun at Boeing steps down. Dave Calhoun at Boeing steps down.
According to CBS News, Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun to step down by end of year. Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun is stepping down. The management shakeup comes as the aircraft manufacturer struggles with production problems and a mid-air blowout of a door panel.
Okay, so basically what it was that happened in Alaska, the FBI is investigating it now. So the Boeing CEO stepped down. Now there's not just him, it's a bunch of other people with Boeing they just stepped down too. Um the thing is, like I was saying, before I think I said this in one of my other podcasts, but um basically that's who I used to work for, which is like a I worked for a defense subcontractor that worked on the engines for the F-18 fighter jets that Boeing makes. And the thing is that this is a long time coming. Um, I told some of you that some of the trouble that I had with some of these people where they were like harassing me because of things like that. I want to tell any of you, if you get in a situation like this, be careful of who you talk to. Be careful who you trust, because what they do is they try and weed themselves into your life after you've cut them off because you don't trust them, and they try and reintroduce themselves and reinvent themselves into your life and stuff like that. But I worked for a subcontractor that worked for Boeing in the defense sector that fixed the engines for the F-18s. And I think I worked there for about 2 years. And, during the time there was, some questionable behavior by the management. But the thing is that they apparently lie so much that they just ignored my complaints and stuff like that. And they tried to put the complaints on me. But it looks like the CEO is stepping down now because he keeps getting in trouble with the plane, the tires falling off. The I believe that the Italian FBI had to threaten them with jail time because of the subcontractor in Italy kept lying about the parts and stuff like that. And uh but now the FBI is investigating something that happened to one of their planes in Alaska. And hopefully they'll start to get to the bottom of this stuff. Personally, I think they should do what the FBI in Italy did. They should threaten Dave Calhoun with jail time, and then maybe he'll start fixing the plane right. Now, I have a theory, and I'm going to say it again. Um, is that basically, and this is just a theory, I'm not making any accusations, but it looks like they have structured their own oligarchy inside the company's high upper echelon. The upper echelon of the company has basically structured their own oligarchy, whereas instead of making repairs, they put money to the side for repairs. But instead of making repairs and making new innovations, research and development, they put money to the side for research and development, making repairs, innovation, but instead of doing anything positive for the plane, they put the money in their pocket. That's what I believe is possibly happening. I mean, how do you every few years, there's problems like this, and it's a lot of them all at the same time. And um, how do you get in that much trouble repeatedly regarding the parts, whether or not it's made with real titanium, and there's bolts completely missing out of the doors. The bolts supposed to be in the doors are missing. You know, how do you completely how do you repeatedly get in trouble for stuff like that, and then it still happens? It's because they're not making any repairs. Possibly they might be just putting the money, they talk, give a speech, have a few meetings, and then they put money to the side to make the repairs. They put money to the side for the research and development of innovations, but then they put the money in their pocket. So possibly they've structured their own oligarchy inside the company. They're, like I was saying before, come to find out, there's Russian oligarchs that buy a lot of private jets from them and things like that. So, I know the power company here in Jacksonville, they learned a few moves from the Russian oligarchs, and they tried to sell the power company. It's possible that the CEOs at Boeing learned a few moves from the Russian oligarchs that they were selling private jets to, and possibly could be just putting that money in their pocket. They have a meeting, they discuss the problems, then they put the money to the side to fix it, but then they don't fix it. They put the money in their pocket. Section 42 and Section 46 of the fuselage is still being made with of fake titanium, or the bolts in the doors are still missing, or Apparently the damn bolts on the landing gear is missing also on some of the planes, and it's just getting ridiculous. And he's just finally stepped down. So maybe they'll start to do things different now. Who knows? Who knows? I know because I felt like when they first moved here to Jacksonville, when they first opened up their new facility, um, it looked like they came to Jacksonville to try to hide, and it looks like they came, try to hide what they were doing and all of this kind of stuff. And they tried, I think personally that they tried to investigate me for some of the stuff that I was right, so they could try to hide what they were doing. And I ended up leaving the place. Uh, so, but now the feds in Alaska got them, and they're going to start investigating it, and hopefully they can get to the bottom of it, make it fix that damn plane. It's getting ridiculous. So let's see if I had anything else I wanted to add today. Um, okay, yeah, I wanted to talk about this one last thing right here. This one last thing. Uh, the complaints that I put in. Some people say, "Well, why didn't he complain about it?" The When I go to city council meetings, the reason why I film podcasts because when I go to city council meetings, you only have 2-3 minutes to talk at city council meetings, and if it's a lot of people there, they will only give you 60 seconds to talk. So I film podcasts so I can get the issues out and talk about them in a greater span. And and but the thing is that what I want to bring up is that ooh, excuse me, law enforcement here is not trustworthy. And I want to say this again, I would like to invite NATO or people from the United Nations to come down here to Jacksonville to investigate some of this stuff that I wrote about. Why aren't the sanctions against Igor Makarov being enforced? Why aren't those sanctions being enforced? Um, why is Governor DeSantis uh so hostile towards uh the President Biden and things like that? It's a bunch of different stuff going on. Um, a bunch of really dastardly things going on. So but I would like to invite NATO down here to investigate some of this stuff. It's absurd. Now, what I want to say is don't trust JSO because they think they're slick. The sheriff's department here, they won't take my complaints downtown. Hey, there's somebody stalking me, and there's somebody harassing me. They won't take my complaint downtown. But what they'll do is they'll let someone else bump into me and say they heard me say such and such and such that needs to be investigated. And it's absurd, the process that they have absurd. They won't take, I mean, I've been in there numerous of times to complain about dirty cops and stuff like that. They won't take my complaint downtown. you know they'll say, well, we don't believe that happened, we don't believe that this has happened, Mr. Fletcher. We don't we you we, or what you're talking about hasn't happened yet. It's just a threat, that you took it as a threat. You took it as a threat, Mr. Fletcher. um but they won't take my complaint downtown. But what they'll do is they'll let somebody bump into me and say that he said this and he said that. And instead of just buying the damn book, and it's a bunch of foolishness. It looks like to me like they've tried to frame me several times for 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 comments on Twitter, or comments on or stuff that's got to do with my book. But we'll get to the bottom of it. Definitely, definitely, definitely. And let's see. I want to mention this. I want to give a shout out to uh two of my favorite clothing brands. Because they just made the news. I don't know if any of y'all see this, but I think Jacksonville just made one of the new Adidas commercials. Like there was somebody in a Jacksonville Dolphins jersey in one of the new Adidas commercials, and I want to say thank you to Adidas, from Jacksonville, Florida. Um, And I see here there's some controversy about Nike getting a contract from the soccer team. I like both of them. I got a lot of battle scars from over the years. I've been shot 4 times. I've had hip surgery. I had ankle surgery where my Achilles tendon was ripped in half during a freak accident one time. Um, so I try to dress comfortably, and I don't wear jeans and slacks and things like that anymore. I just wear Nike stuff, Adidas stuff. I don't know if some of y'all noticed that, but when you see me out in public, that's all I wear is like workout clothes, like I'm about to go to the gym and work out. And that's because I like to be comfortable because I have limited range of movement in my hip and my ankle and apparently now my knees. Um, so uh, I would just like to give a shout out to both of you. How about that? I like Nike and I like Adidas, and I purchase a lot of Nike stuff and Adidas stuff too. So thank you to Adidas for putting us in the putting Jacksonville, Florida in the commercial, and also thank you to Nike too. I like Nike too. I like both of them. So I'm not going to start an argument here because I like both companies. I like both clothing brands. So shout out to you guys. And that's all I had to say. So remember, if you get a chance to check it out, the Nibble Next, blurb.com, the Battle of Fleche, blurb.com, and the one that's causing all the controversy, The Black Hand by Duane Fletcher, blurb.com, BLURB, blurb.com. Um, very good books, very good action novels. As a matter of fact, I got a part two to this one coming out that I'm writing right now. I'm about like chapter four. I'm about four chapters in on a part two to this. And I got a set pattern that I do. I try and do like anywhere from 10 to 15 chapters, 10 pages a piece, just to get the idea on paper. If I need to expand on it after that, then I do. But I'm about four chapters in on a part two to this. It's gonna be called uh, The Black Hand Chapter Two. And it's gonna be really good also. It's gonna be really good. So it's gonna be called The Black Hand Chapter Two, El Nino. Okay, so it's going to be really, really good. So if you get a chance to uh, be on the lookout for it and check it out. And that's all I had to say. Thank you, Duane Fletcher, Fletcher Community Media, over and out. Thank you.